I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media. Thanks for joining us for the Maple Grove City Report. As you see, joined by City Administrator Heidi Nelson. We have the meeting from the 20th to talk about, which was about 2 hours in length. But before we get there, Heidi, we wanted to mention quickly something that happened on the 14th of April. That was the Board of Equalization. Again, quick reminder of what that event is each year, and tell us about how the process went, this time virtually as well.
Yeah, so this is the process for determining property values for the 2021 year timeframe of taxes payable. So this is the timeframe where residents or businesses can come in and appeal their property values that will be set for that upcoming year. On the 14th, we had the first meeting. There's two meetings in this process. The first meeting is where the appeals are presented to the City Council, and then those all come back on the 28th of April here. We call it the Reconvened Meeting. And that's where the council will be presented with all the information about each of the properties and then make a decision, and from there about the valuation. And then folks from there can go on to the Hennepin County process for appeals. So we'll be reconvening here on April 28th in the online format, same format that we used for the 14th.
And we'll bring people up to date of that meeting after it does indeed happen. So back to the meeting on the 20th, again, about 2 hours. There were three main topics that were covered, and one of the first main topics, after nothing pulled from consent, was the presentation by Fire Chief Tim Bush, again updating the residents and the council on COVID-19. And I know, Heidi, you have some notes. Give us the latest of the city's work in that area.
Yeah, so Tim Bush, Fire Chief, also serves as our Emergency Management Director, and we have him come in and just provide an update as to how things are going here at the city and kind of what's going on generally with the COVID-19 pandemic. He participates, of course, and follows along with everything at Hennepin County and the Department of Public Safety, along with Police Chief Warner. So we really do try to stay abreast of what's going on with all of the state and county agencies and those kinds of things. So not much in terms of changes to our operations. We're kind of in this holding pattern here in terms until we know what the governor's next move might be. So not much to update there in terms of our operations. But, you know, as we are doing this electronically, all of our council meetings, planning commission meetings, those continue to be available online, and those meetings are conducted electronically. We continue to encourage, residents and businesses to utilize our city website, to utilize email and phone to contact staff, just to kind of reduce that in-person contact. We do have a phone inside the front door of the government center, but most, if not all, of our services that you might need from us here at the government center are available either through our website or by contacting a staff member and doing that on phone and email. So we really encourage residents to use those electronic forms to get the city services that they need.
City of Maple Grove is again, the website, maplegrovemn.gov is where you want to go to find out all of that information. One final note from the chief was something special coming up on the 25th. So for people that are watching this quickly after we're recording it here on the Wednesday, tell us about the mask event.
Yeah, so the governor in a press conference late last week announced a Minnesota homemade mask drive. So, you know, a lot of people in the community have been making homemade masks, and so in an effort to kind of collect those and then provide for their distribution, Saturday, April 25th was designated as a day for drop-off at fire stations. And so we have 5, of course, fire stations here in Maple Grove. Information is available on our website about those specific addresses for the fire stations, but a drop-off receptacle will be provided there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if you have homemade masks that you've made, you can drop them off there, and then our fire staff will be handling it from there. We actually are partnering with an organization here in the community that is doing some distribution of those masks, as well as some hand sanitizer and cleaning supplies, that kind of a thing. So that'll be coming kind of next, and they're going to be focused on distributing those to some of our, congregate care, senior housing facilities, to those most vulnerable populations. So what's collected on Saturday, we're trying to partner with this other organization to get those things distributed. So if you have masks, you can drop them off on Saturday.
Yeah, what a wonderful event. And again, go to the city's website to find out those exact locations. Moving on the meeting on the 20th, there were some retirements recognized, and talk about some long-time service to the city. We've got 4 to list here, and they really have meant a lot to the city, it sounds like, Heidi.
Yeah, so, typically upon retirement, we would all gather for cake and coffee, and they would have an opportunity to invite family and friends, and city staff and the council would come, and it's really a great opportunity to reflect on their service and thank them for their contributions to the community. We aren't able to do that now, so we wanted to take an opportunity to provide that recognition during a council meeting. So the 4 employees that will be retiring here kind of towards the end of April and into the early May. Sue Rice has served for 27 years in our engineering department as an administrative assistant. Steve Solomon, 18 years of service as a paid-on-call firefighter, and then 17 years as a fire safety specialist. Dan Karen, 21 years of service as community center maintenance technician. And then Frank Weber, 23 years of service as our community center operations supervisor. So, all in probably over, almost 100 years of service here.
Fantastic, yes.
And with that, a lot of knowledge walks out the door. And so we always try to prepare for these transitions, but no doubt losing, these types of senior staff that are retiring now is a big transition for the city. But we do appreciate their service and really want to recognize them during this transition to their next chapter.
Thank you to those 4 for service to the city. Moving ahead, on the 20th, there was one public hearing. This dealt with vacation of drainage and utility easements. Tell us about the area of the city and why this was important.
Yeah, so this is for the South Prominence development, kind of a smaller lot development out in the southwest area of the city. So this is just part of that process moving forward of vacating some drainage and utility easements and then rededicating some new ones in accordance with the new plat.
Okay. Moving ahead to community development, one of the longer items from the meeting on the 20th was the Apex Facility Solutions contract. And this is, Heidi, something that we've talked about for a while. Went a little bit on hold as COVID came and the timing was there, but now it is back before the council. Again, give us a little refresher on how this is going to be a long-term benefit for the city.
Yeah, so we've been working with a company, they're based out of Anoka, called Apex. They do a lot of work for other municipalities and other levels of government on trying to develop kind of energy efficiency solutions for government facilities. And that can include, LED lighting, HVAC improvements, sealing up the exterior of buildings, solar installations. And so we have been working with them for about the last year and a half to try to come up with some options for the city to consider in terms of improving the energy efficiency in our buildings. And a number of our buildings, like the government center that I'm in today, is now 20 years old. And so the light fixtures that were installed at the time that this building was constructed, today there are much more efficient options. And so there's no doubt a capital cost to that, but there's also energy efficiency gains that come from making those improvements. So the approach is to make the investment in those projects that yield those energy efficiency improvements. And then from those savings, you can also accomplish some other deferred maintenance projects. So some of the energy efficiency projects, the lighting that I mentioned, some building envelope projects, sealing up some building envelopes. We're doing some street light work. So we're replacing some street light poles and then upgrading those to LED fixtures, a solar installation up at the Public Works facility. And then through those savings that we'll gain on our energy costs, we're able to address the ball field lighting at the Maple Grove Middle School. This is a city portion of that facility. That lighting is original to that facility and is experiencing some issues. HVAC and control upgrades at the dome, so that'll be done over the summer months here and then ready for when that dome reopens in the fall. There's a portion of the roof at the community center that we've been dealing with some issues on. That'll get replaced. And then some air intake modifications at the law enforcement training facility. So it really provided us the opportunity to fund about $2 million in deferred maintenance projects while also having that energy efficiency gain in our buildings. So culmination of a lot of work. Every department was involved with this, and some concern about moving forward with this type of project during this kind of uncertain time. We're going to be utilizing some internal capital funds for this work and paying those back over time. And so I think the council felt that it was, a good time to make these investments and move this work forward at a time where maybe there's a little bit more capacity on staff to get it done as well. So that one gained approval and will be moving forward, and we'll probably see some of those projects rolling out over the summer months.
Excellent, and we'll keep residents up to date on that. Another item from the meeting under community development on the 20th was potential restriction for new apartment developments. And it sounds like this is something, again, that the city has been considering for some time. Give us a little background on the thoughts behind this and where it went on the meeting on the 20th.
Yeah, so this is something that we had met in, our planning session at the end of February, and this is one of the items that was discussed at length, and some direction came to take a look at this. And what this really is kind of placing a moratorium on new apartment projects. Having said that, we have a number of them that are in the pipeline that have, are at an approval level or would be allowed to continue forward, but kind of calls a timeout for us to really take a look at this market and see where we're at. We've had a lot of apartment units added, and we want to make sure that, the transportation systems and just our infrastructure can deal with the number of units that are being proposed. And so this will come back on the May 4th agenda. There's an interim ordinance that needs to be adopted by the council. So there's another step in this one, but this one was supported by the council as well.
Let's move ahead to some of the updates from different departments in the city. And the first is community development. They did pass along that they will have a planning commission meeting virtually on the 27th. And it sounds like, Heidi, they'll be busy. Tell us about some of the items coming up within the planning commission and community development. Yeah,
so they do have a senior housing project that is on the agenda. So that will be coming forward. Get to my the Village at Arbor Lakes. This is a project that's been in, that has been submitted. And so this is one of those that, our recommendation is that it's in the process. And so we don't want to, harm developers that are in process kind of a thing. So that one will move forward. And then they also there's a zoning text amendment dealing with internal appeal limitations for amending zoning code. So kind of a technical thing, but it briefs up the timeline that somebody could appeal a zoning decision. So, and that's been in front of the Planning Commission before, needed a little bit more work, but that'll come forward. We do have a couple other projects up in the Fernbrook 81 area that are tabled to Monday, May 11th. So we'll see those come forward at that Planning Commission meeting.
Joe also passing along a couple things coming up in the city, and one that was supposed to be in the city, but I understand now is not going to be, is Age-Friendly Minnesota. You were going to be a spotlight there to show off some of the projects within Maple Grove. It sounds like that will still happen in some way, but maybe not in the city. Is that correct?
No, it actually did happen, but it actually happened virtually. So
okay, it did happen. Very good.
The Governor's Council on Aging, the state is considering adopting the age-friendly, kind of age-friendly Minnesota. We have age-friendly Maple Grove. And so actually this morning, the mayor and myself, and then Councilmember Jagger and Councilmember Leith and Councilmember Barnett participated in the call with the Governor's Council on Aging. And then we had a number of staff that participated in that presentation as well. Liz Faust from our senior center and Lydia Morkin, who's our consultant on the age-friendly work. So they were a lot of people on that call. So those get kind of interesting in terms of, 30, 40 people on a call, but we're getting pretty good at that. So that information was able to be shared with the state this morning about the program here in Maple Grove.
Fantastic. A couple other items that were brought up under community development, some events in the community coming up. Arbor Day comes up on Friday the 24th. That is this coming Friday. The Maple Grove tree sale continues on. And also maybe some interest in some properties in the city of Maple Grove, retail properties that people might be interested in. Give us a little sneak peek of that.
Yeah, so, we continue to do outreach with our retailers, our retail owners, and just kind of understanding, during this very difficult time of closure, how are things going and what are they seeing and what do they expect coming back? And we do see some activity for some leases coming along. And so that's great. We have, I think for some of our retail centers, we have strength of ownership with, the likes of Kimco, and, Prudential owns the shops. And so we're hopeful that because of kind of that strength of ownership and the depth of some of those, the folks that own the real estate, that maybe we'll fare a little bit better. And we are seeing some activity. People are thinking about the comeback. And so we just continue to monitor that, but are excited to see them still continue to do that work about, how we're moving forward.
Let's move ahead to Public Works. A couple quick items that were touched on there. Street reconstruction time once again as the weather gets nice. Again, how many projects this year, and where might be some of the areas of focus for street reconstruction?
Yeah, we have, I think it's broken down into about 3 or 4 different projects, mainly kind of on the west side of the city, but those projects are getting underway. Most of them will be underway, into over the next couple weeks into early May. So if you have a project in your neighborhood, I'm sure you're well aware
Yes.
that project is coming. And so, I think one of the benefits of doing road construction during this time is traffic is down. We don't have a lot of people out and about. Most people are, a lot of people are working from home. And so, just like with the work going out on I-94, it's much easier to do, big construction projects when you don't have as much traffic. So we're getting going as quickly as we can, and hopefully we can gain some time on some of those projects.
Another project that travelers in Maple Grove might have to watch out for some orange cones and maybe a temporary closure is around the Arbor Lakes Industrial Park area. Give us an update there and what might affect a couple of main roads in the city. Yeah,
so this is at the 85th and Zachary area, the Arbor Lakes Corporate Center that's right there in the corner of the new building there on the former Hilger transfer site. So we had bid this project out a couple times and the bids were super high. And so we went out to bid again in January and the bids came back much more reasonable. And so the building is up and, they've kind of put things to the edge of the street. And now we got to get the work connecting everything back and get some turn lanes in, that kind of a thing. So that project should be pretty brief, but there will be some closures over there, 85th and Zachary area. So just pay attention for that.
Okay. You mentioned I-94. Let's give folks an update of what's happening out there. And again, things seem to be moving along with a little less traffic. What can people expect to see out there now?
Yeah, so there's going to be overnight lane closures in both directions on I-94, kind of up in that Fletcher Lane Territorial Road area, kind of on the northwest corner of Maple Grove up towards Rogers. There's been work up there in terms of converting adding some signals. They're putting in some roundabouts in areas. That New Brockton, Dayton Parkway interchange is going to be going in up there. So if you're one that takes the back roads between Maple Grove up to Rogers or something, plan to know that maybe some of those areas might be closed or there's going to be some impacts to some of the traffic up in that area. We're continuing to work with MnDOT on the rest area in Maple Grove. They have some planned improvements there and they'd be looking to, do some closures of that facility here coming next week. And so we're continuing to work with MnDOT on those issues. And that would be closed until November 1st for those site improvements. So a lot of information is available on the MnDOT website, links to that from our website, but they keep that information pretty updated. But a lot of impacts coming between the Fish Lake Split and Maple Grove. And this project goes all the way out to Clearwater. So if you're traveling up north this summer, take a look. But as long as traffic stays the way it is, it'll be a little bit easier to handle.
Very good. And a couple final items from Public Works related to getting cleaned up in the springtime. One has been postponed, one is still on, and the yard waste site is open. Tell us about cleanup options in the city.
Yeah, so we have canceled or postponing our curbside pickup probably till the fall. We just really struggled trying to find a way to do that and safely protect staff as well as residents. And then, but the drop-off program that we have on May 16th, that's going forward. We're able to kind of space things out and let people, unload their own things when they get there. The yard waste site is open, so if folks are out doing yard work, they can utilize the yard waste site. We're trying to keep spacing there and not have them interact with the staff at the yard waste site. And then our recycling center here in Maple Grove continues to be open as well, and that one is one that we can accommodate and provide safe spacing at.
And final note from the meeting on the 20th, you gave a quick update. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. You had a planning session back in February, but that might just have to go on hold.
Yeah, we're going to put that on hold a little bit. We approved the minutes of that on our last council agenda, but so much has changed in 7 short weeks that many of the things that we spent time on that day, are either completely on pause now. One of the projects is the community center remodel expansion. We've kind of put that on pause, just not knowing what the future holds with that facility closed right now. Lifetime Fitness being closed, and what the future of that is. So I think we'll wait to see where the world lands here, and then pick that back up and see what still is relevant today. But we're going to put that on pause for now.
One other meeting held within the meeting on the 20th, and that was the EDA getting back together, and their discussion centered on an emergency loan program, something from a very localized level. Again, give us a little background, if you could, and some of the discussion that went on about this topic.
Yeah, so this is repurposing an existing revolving loan fund program that the city has for economic development purposes. We have dollars that are in that fund that were for gleaned from economic development projects, and so good for us to use those on economic development investments. So the notion of this program, and we brought forward a policy outline. This will come back again, of course, on May 4th to wrap up some specifics of the program. But the notion is to provide a $10,000 potentially forgivable loan to businesses, local business here in Maple Grove, and really focused on kind of the startup, again, the reopening. A lot of programs available through the state and feds, many of them oversubscribed, and some fundings again coming from the feds on that. But our focus is really kind of on trying to help people reopen. So $10,000 loan, there was an underwriting, kind of a brief underwriting process that would be associated with it. We want to make sure if we're providing funding, we're providing it to businesses that have been strong in the past and then just impacted by the closure, but have the potential to move forward, hopefully. So more to come on that on May 4th, but the council was generally supportive of that concept and repurposing some of those revolving loan funds for that purpose. We're looking at dedicating about $250,000 to this purpose. So doing somewhere between 20 and 25 loans. We do have some underwriting costs to cover. So more to come on this on May 4th.
All right, we'll keep people up to date. So that wraps up the meeting from the 20th. Again, went about 2 hours. There were some other items that are happening in the city we wanted to keep you up to date on. And one was increase in thefts from vehicles. This is something the police department certainly is spending some time on. Give us a little detail about that effort.
Yeah, we see an uptick in this every summer, no doubt. A lot of times with college kids home or more kids coming and going from the house, cars being left in the driveway unlocked, sometimes the keys in them, valuables left in those cars. I think we just really, and more people are home today, so more vehicles around. I think we really encourage people just to make sure you're locking your vehicles, don't leave keys in vehicles, get your valuables out of your vehicles. It just makes it for a really easy target. And a lot of times we'll see this theft kind of come through a neighborhood, right, and then, strike a bunch of homes in a neighborhood. So we really encourage people to take those extra steps to make sure garage doors are shut, service doors are locked, take keys out of vehicles, lock them up, take the valuables out. Those brief steps can really get in the way of criminals.
We have talked many times in the past about the Elm Road Project. Give us a quick update there. That project is continuing to move ahead.
So this is associated with the Gagne development down in the Elm Road area. So this would involve the improvement and that connection of Elm Road through that area. We're going through a design process and some community engagement there. So there's opportunities for folks who live in that area to provide some input to that design process. That information and process is available on our website. So we encourage people to go out and find that information and contribute to that design.
Let's touch on a couple items that are rites of spring as well. That would be hydrant flushing and boulevard planting. First, hydrant flushing. What should residents know about that process each year?
Yeah, so we have a few more weeks of hydrant flushing to do, weather permitting, and then we do put signs out in the area on the days that we're going to be flushing in those areas. Information's available on our city website as well, or if you have questions, you can just give a call up to Public Works.
Good. And then you're looking for some volunteers to help beautify the city. How can we get involved?
Yeah, so this is an annual event that everybody always looks forward to, and it's going to have to be a little bit different this year. A lot of times we'll have, I know I've gone out with our Rotary Club and done planting, and a lot of businesses will do it as kind of a, bring their staff out to do it. But this year, how we're approaching our boulevard planting is offering it up to families. So you would come, kind of with your immediate family, those you're quarantining with.
Right.
Sheltering in place with, and do, plant that entire bed. So we're doing it on Thursday, May 14th during the day along Weaver Lake Boulevard, and then Saturday, May 16th on Elm Creek Boulevard from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. both of those days. And you can contact Tanya Huntley in our Parks and Rec department to sign up to do that. So we'll get the flowers planted and have something beautiful to look at this summer, but just do it in a little bit different way.
Very nice. Couple other community items, ways that community organizations are stepping out, and again, ways residents can get involved through cross services, blood drives, and also some donations. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so cross services, we've mentioned them, definitely in need of donations of funds. They also are struggling on the volunteer front. Many of their volunteers are seniors, and so some have had to step away for health concerns. And so, think about Cross or SEEP service, kind of more the east side, as you're thinking about, providing any funding out to the community or support out to the community. We've been hosting blood drives here at the Maple Grove Community Center through the Red Cross. I know those appointments have been filling up fast when those dates are announced, which is great. They've done a really nice job of setting up a very, socially distanced situation there. We're bringing folks in kind of through the lower level of the community center. It's worked out really well. So information's available on our website about that. And then, if there's folks out there, businesses, we talked about the mask collection that'll happen on Saturday for kind of the homemade variety. If there's businesses out there that have PPE, personal protection equipment, the higher level masks, the N95s, that kind of thing, and they want to make a donation, outreach to Tim Bush in our fire department or Eric Warner, our police chief, and they can coordinate those donations. We'll certainly take them to help support our first responders out in the field.
Continuing on, a few other items about COVID-19. It affects transit in a little way. One, changing a little bit of the scheduling, but two, helping people out with groceries. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so we made some additional adjustments to our transit schedule. We still have some folks that are riding the bus downtown, but it's a very limited number. So we're on kind of our lowest level of service that we have. We'll continue to monitor that and see how that goes. But we're kind of down at the bare minimum now. The North Parkway Station is closed. That facility's closed, so we're only doing it out of the Arbor Lake Station here in the downtown area. We have added a service to the My Ride program. That service is still going. We're providing, just single person rides on that to get folks to necessities. We are doing a service now where we can pick up groceries. If you've arranged for groceries from a food shelf, we can pick that up and deliver it to your home. Also a grocery order. And so this is, focused on folks that, can't get out. So more kind of the senior community or those that might be vulnerable. Give a call to the My Ride service and we can get those services coordinated for you to pick those things up and get them to your home and, save you a trip out.
Excellent. A couple items looking forward now as we close the program. Farmers Market, I know things have changed there. Tell us what the Farmers Market is looking like as we move ahead.
Yeah, so they held their first one outdoor kind of under these new conditions where they're trying to provide spacing and safety. They held that on April 16th, and I think things went really well. I think everybody sort of followed the rules and honored the reason why we were there, which was, get in, get your goodies and get out and get home and bring one person, which is, we're used to the farmers market being a social gathering and a festive place. And so this is a very different approach. And so that's the intent, is really to provide access to, fresh food and support our local farmers and whatnot. So the next market, Thursday, April 30th from 3 to 6, that will be outside. And then our weekly Thursday markets will start May 14th, and they're going to be in this modified format, until the world changes again. So good opportunity to get out and do some shopping, but we ask that you honor kind of the new protocols.
All right, we've got about a minute left, so we'll touch quickly on Step To It Challenge is upon us once again, the month of May. Again, little social distancing thought in that, but they're encouraging you to get involved, and links on the city's website there. The census, again, continuing to be underway. You can look to the city's information for up-to-date information about the census. And finally, the Walk to Remember, they have set up a special date, and again, doing things a little differently. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the annual Angel of Hope Walk to Remember is canceled. The community can still be part of the special Angel of Hope event on Saturday, May 2nd at 10 a.m. They're going to be doing this virtually through a Facebook Live. So all the information about how you can participate in that are available on the Friends of the Angel Facebook page. And I believe we probably have that information on our Parks and Rec website page as well. So just a modified event this year virtually.
Very good. And maplegrovemn.gov, the place to find out all that information. Also, the next council meeting will be on May 4th. You can find information there as well. Heidi, thanks for your time today. We will talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Dave.